Your abhorrent host welcomes you once more to the House of Tears. I have a tale for you today of betrayal, of the birth of evil in a heart which never so much as fostered hatred. This is one which you haven't heard. She will not tell this story to you, no matter how nicely you ask. It hurts her too much. But I shall. This is my prerogative as your host, after all. Long ago, by which I mean longer ago than I would care to remember, there was a kind young witch in a small village. The witch was beloved by the people of the village for many reasons. As with many ancient witches, this witch practiced medicine and herbal remedies which offered relief for the ill and ailing, and she did so without asking for anything in return. This they loved her for. In times of crisis, the witch cast such powerful protection over the villagers that such things never touched them. This they loved her for. Perhaps most importantly, this witch would glance at the villagers, her neighbors and friends, and see into their path, into what lay ahead, if she saw danger or regret, any kind of misery. She was the first to warn them and offer advice to send them down a happier path. This, too, they loved her for. But life is not eternal, and as the witch grew older, her sight began to wane. The path ahead grew clouded before disappearing entirely. But the witch remained assured that even without her sight, she would retain the love of her neighbors and friends. One who has never been without may never fathom the terror of it. In the village, there was a young mother with 2 children, both under the age of 7. When she first became pregnant, the witch was the one who treated her, assured her of her safety and the safety of the child. If all the villagers were the witch's friends, this woman was her best friend. So the tragedy becomes this. The witch had spent her morning with her dear friend and the 2 rambunctious children. It had been a blissful morning of shared pastries and laughter. This would be the last morning spent thus. Had she still been able to see, it would not have been, but the witch's sight had faded already. Even her eyes were beginning to cloud over already. Her eyes and her magic were both failing her as she grew older. These quiet failings had lost the village their protection without warning. The witch still healed, she still advised, and no crises had come. Then her friend's children drowned. It had rained unusually much in the past fortnight, and when the children were playing by the river, a flash flood swept them away. There was no suffering, no terror. They died before they even knew that they could. And before the tears had even dried on their cheeks, the villagers turned their fingers to the witch. She cried and screamed, and when their fingers clawed at her clothes, she tried to run. Failing vision does not make that easy. Her body slammed down into the mud, only to be hauled back up by the villagers, no longer friends and neighbors, but a maddened mob. They looped a rough rope around her throat and dragged her through the muddied roads to the town square. She screamed and clawed at the rope even as they hauled her up the crier's platform. Her nails broke down to the quick. Village children threw stones, and a particularly sharp one sliced through her nose and cheek. Her tears and red blood poured down her face. You know, she never stopped begging. She made so many promises to try to preserve her life, if not their love. But they did not listen. They tied her to the platform, gathered all the kindling that she had dried for them in this wet season, and ignited it. She screamed until her voice gave out. Do you want to know the irony? The witch was born under a curse that she dared never speak of. Unlike a true witch, she was able to cast magic without a spell or physical component. This she did by burning through her own soul and life. Her body and magic failed her because she protected the village, and this was her repayment. No care, she slowly died, only a hastened end. The other irony. She will tell you this much now. The minute she looks into your path and you place your faith in her, your soul is hers to claim. A soul for her to live eternally young, a soul for her to burn as the magic overflowing from her fingertips. The villagers owed her their souls. And in the desperation brought on by the horror of burning alive, the witch unconsciously pulled them to her. Not unlike the phoenix, she walked from the ashes, but very unlike the phoenix, she fell to her knees among what remained of the villagers, small scraps of unpolished silver, and sobbed. And when the pain passed, do you know what remained? A desire to live, no matter the cost. So you see why I keep the witch among those in my troop. She wants nothing more than to live, and she will consume anyone and everyone to ensure that. What kind of misery do you think she leaves in her wake? I'll tell you, the most delicious misery of all. And I shall devour it all. The misery of the ones consumed, of those left behind, even her own misery from my retelling of her story, and yours from listening to painful tales, is mine to feed on. Let me ask you this, too. Tell me my name. The clever among you know. If my clues have not told you, then I'm pleased that you'll be forced to remain here with me in this blissful misery. After all, my name is the only key that will release you from my house of tears. Good luck, and thank you for such lovely meals.